What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. There was some request, hold up now, that somebody wanted me to talk about. Let me see. Was it this one? Might have been you, Mr. G. You're saying, take a look at the 1-day and 4-hour chart. There are some bullish signs. Falling wedge, we just broke out, and inverse head and shoulders formed. Okay, so that's what Mr. G was talking about. I do want to go over that. I'm going to pause the music for us here. But I also want to just, do a general analysis as well. If we're looking at the 1-day chart or the 4-hour, whatever, you can see this inverse head and shoulders, I would hope, right here. I'm assuming this is what he's talking about. And it does look pretty damn perfect for an inverse head and shoulders. You got your left shoulder there, you've got the head, you've got your right shoulder. They're pretty damn perfect. The wedge, I believe that he's talking about, is this wedge here. And why he's saying that it's bullish is because, maybe I would assume it would have been like this, right? That's the wedge, perhaps, something like that, right? I don't know if I would call that a falling wedge. Maybe it's the whole pattern itself. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a falling wedge. I don't know. I'd call it just like consolidation. But tomato, whatever. My analysis doesn't have to be your analysis. Yeah, because definitely not the rising wedge, right? It wasn't this that you're identifying, right? I think if you're saying falling, it would have to be something down here. I don't know. Anyways, I don't really see that as much, and I wouldn't say that we've broken out of it. All we've done so far is we have a high here, which is a lower high than this high, which is a lower high than this high, which is a lower high than this high. So I think we're just in this kind of trend downwards, right now, more or less a kind of channel, if anything. I did believe that this was our consolidation phase up here, and that when we broke down, we would see a more rapid move down, but it's been a little bit more methodical. I think that after yesterday's close and the day before's close, I think it's becoming more apparent that we are in fact going to go lower, and I think that's okay. I think that really is okay. Time will tell. But my main kind of belief to why I think we're going lower is the daily RSI here, right? Lower highs as well, lower lows. This look in itself just looks like it wants to see the oversold zone again. If not into it to form a lower low, at least above it to form a higher low, while promoting lower lows in price, giving us bullish divergence. That's what bullish divergence is, after all. As far as the inverse head and shoulders looks, I will say, Mr. G, it looks pretty good. It does look like an inverse head and shoulders. The one thing that I would say is it doesn't have the right volume profile, and that's not that important. I've seen head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders work out with all kinds of volume profiles, but generally speaking, you want it to be like heavy volume going into lesser volume, like something basically like that. And it doesn't have to be that consistent. It could be, like how there's a spike here, there could have been a spike here, and then it dies, and then you get a spike there at the head. Well, maybe not that high, right? A spike there, and then you get your lower spike here, and then you get your lower spike there. I'm not doing a good job of drawing these lower spikes. Hold on. I'm determined, you guys. Big spike there, lesser spike there, and then you'd get a lesser spike there, right? It would be something like that where you get this trend. It doesn't have to be completely filled out all the way, is all I'm trying to say. That's ideal, but so what? Ideal things don't always happen, and Coinbase is not the only exchange. Maybe on Binance or on the Binance USDT chart even. Even if not, yeah, the volume profile isn't right, but it still could be. It could be an inverse head and shoulders, so let's play off of that look. If it is an inverse head and shoulders, if you break and you've held this line, technically this is perfect still. If it is an inverse head and shoulders, yesterday's price did not matter, but you are at the place, literally the line. You're right there. You're bouncing off it right now, not even a full % away from it. That's the line that you don't want to break. If you break this to the downside, inverse head and shoulders patterns are not perfect patterns, right? It definitely looks like it from a price standpoint. Volume be damned, it does look like an inverse head and shoulder to me. If it were to play out, you would want to break this line, right? That's what will make it green, so that it's the money line, right? We'll make this red, so it's the money burn line. It can be a bullish pattern with the statistical probability to break to the upside, but it's a statistical probability. That means potential to not perform the way you would expect it to, right? It can go up, it can go down. And I personally do believe we're going to go lower. I think the daily RSI says it all. I think where we are as far as like in the cycle, it makes sense as well. Yeah, I don't know. I very much do believe that we're going to go a little bit lower. So I don't know. That was just some stuff that I wanted to pull up at the request of a longtime viewer here. You guys know I do all kinds of requests. Hit that like button and subscribe if you appreciate that. I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. From this high to this low, you didn't even hit your 618. You know, is that the appropriate high to take? I don't know. Should it be this high? I don't. You know, either way. This high here, you did reach for your 886, but couldn't quite get there, and now you're back below your 618, which is not a good sign. So, genuinely speaking, I am expecting a extension move off of that move there from low to high, and that could be anywhere from 54K, really, I mean, all the way down to 47K. This is a pretty small range, so you can see deeper extensions, but this kind of area here, up here, this part, this is what I'm looking for, not so much down here. It could happen down here, but I'm looking more at this part here. So between about 54.3K to 51.6K, that's the target area for BTC. Over the coming days, weeks, you know, it's probably going to happen soon. Within the next week or two is really what I would think. But time will tell as we continue to march down. You know, we could have a green day today, and that still doesn't change that the RSI looks terrible, in my opinion. It just looks like it's losing the battle of strength. It definitely is showing weakness, but I can be wrong. 4 hour looks like it wants to move down, yeah. Weekly doesn't look bad, but it could cool off more. You know, it could go down to the 60, and in that time we could be down, you know. If it were to close to where this RSI would be at the 60. It wouldn't have to close below this low here, but you could wick in that time, and maybe it's not this week, maybe it is, but you could wick in that time down here and then come back up and close up here, still giving you a nice bounce off of the 60 area in the RSI. It's a very common thing to do. But you also don't even have to go to the 60. You know, it's very common for the BTC weekly RSI to go to its 50 area. You can see you got a nice bounce there, got a bounce, you know, from being overbought, kind of got a bounce right there. Let's actually look at the all-time history index to kind of get a comparison here. We'll go all the way back, man. All right, so I mean here, the first kind of cycle times, we'll make that line white so it stands out. You know, you bounced in this area. Here you went down to about the 50 area there, you know. Bounced on this area a few more times actually. Right? 50 is definitely a prominent area. This line, not so prominent, but around it still, maybe a little bit lower. I don't know. You know, you could go lower is all I'm trying to say. But being up this high, I want to see real quick, being up that high in your RSI, you've bounced off your 50. You bounced a little bit, like right off your 60. Okay, that's nice. A couple times even, actually. Yeah, I mean, there's hope. There's hope that we could, you know, see just a really quick flash crash down to 52 to 54K and then come back up and close at prices that are around 57 to 60K itself. So we don't really have to go. If we go lower, we don't have to stay there for long. But I do want to be clear in saying, besides all the theory, all the hypotheticals, I want to be clear in saying that when we do find our low, whether it's here, whether it's a little bit lower, when we do find our low, if we haven't already, it doesn't mean that we're just going to do this, right? We could. Anything's possible. It could happen. We could, you know, if that's our low, maybe we move down a little bit and then boom, you know, but I doubt that's going to happen. I think personally, whether or not, let's pretend that we have found our low and we just form a higher low here. Even if we do that, we're probably going to meander in this range for a little bit of time. Maybe not that long. That'd put us in December, but it's not going to be a quick pump out, you know. I mean, truthfully, that's not even that quick. It looks quick, but look at this, right? That'd be from this price here. If we were to drop to like 59K, that would be next week that we would do that. It just based off this. This isn't me actually guessing this is what would happen. But if we were to bounce just like this in this trajectory, that would mean that we don't even break the highs here until July, right? So that could be the case. We could just slowly be marching our way up. But still, to put it in perspective, it would be July until we're above these highs. So we'd still be in this range for a while, even if we did find our low and start to move up immediately. But we're not going to see just like what I'm trying to say, this whole part that I'm trying to say is that Just because we find our lows does not mean that by the end of this month we're going to be at new all-time highs. It doesn't mean that we're jumping up to 80K tomorrow, you know. So even when we do find our lows, we will have time. But for now, I'm not that impressed by this inverse head and shoulders. Time can prove me wrong, but we need more time. At this moment, we're at the risk of breaking it to the downside. But at the same time, if it is an inverse head and shoulders, which I think it is, it's just got ugly volume, which not good volume tends to lead to a busted pattern more often than not. But you can have a successful pattern even with weird looking volume. You can have a successful pattern. Bouncing off of the lower line like this is a common thing, and that's actually your first time doing it. So, you know, coming up from here, if this were to break to the upside, you'd want to see a move back up to about 64.6K, like right around there. And if we can get that, then the ball's back in the bull's court, you know, to bust this thing to the upside. And we probably would get a nice move up. I mean, from a traditional standpoint of measurement, you would just I would take that, yeah, essentially right there. It looks pretty damn good, I'm not going to lie. I just don't think it comes to fruition, but that put us up to about 75K. Would that be new all-time highs? No, that wouldn't be. What is our current all-time? Yeah, that would be new all-time highs. Why am I having a hard time? No, it would be. Okay, it would be new all-time highs, yeah. But again, that can be the measure move, and it doesn't mean it has to happen tomorrow. It can happen, you know, further down the line. We can slowly, methodically make our way up there. It doesn't have to be in a short amount of time. Though that would still be in a short amount of time. I don't know. To me, that gives it even less legitimacy, though. That is the measure move, and that would put us to new all-time highs, but I personally I don't see us seeing new all-time highs for BTC until months from now. Probably at the earliest sometime in June, but probably July, August, or September, and I'm leaning toward August. But anyways, I think I've gone on long enough. I think I've explained enough, right, given the general headings and directions and opinions of the day. So if you guys like the video, hit that like button. We're sitting at about 62.8K right now. 4-hour RSI, daily RSI, not looking healthy. Weekly RSI looks phenomenal. It looks fine. But we can, as we've seen plenty of times in history, we can go all the way down to the 50. And to put that in perspective from where we are now, being at about 61, 62, that would absolutely take us lower than this low. I think if we were to be at the 50 in the RSI, I'm just doing rough math in my head, but I think we would actually be right around that low on a closing basis, let alone where the wick itself could be. But just so you know, we can go that low. We can go that low in the RSI. Oh, that's not the low I meant to draw. We can go all the way down to the 50 and still be fine. We've done it plenty of times throughout BTC's history. But that's all I got. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for coming. I will see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.